Hi, everybody. It's like the equivalent of writer's block. So, welcome back to my channel. We've talked about this before, and I feel like it's old news at this point, but I have my supplies, I have a plan, but my creativity isn't working. So sometimes when my brain is in an analytical state and not a creative state, I look at the things that I had envisioned, and I'm like, it's not going to really work out that right. Like, that doesn't seem right. Instead of just going for it, So I'm sitting here amongst all of these Easter stuff, all of the Easter things that I bought. And I'm like, what do I do first? What do I do next? So I just jumped into it yesterday, because yesterday I was actually feeling very creative, but my body was not cooperating well. So I only sat down here for about 40 minutes to do one DIY. So today, of course, my brain has gone to a place where it is not feeling very creative. I feel like I'm going to put on The Greatest Showman, and I'm going to let the music play and speak to me. Hopefully that will inspire me to do what's next to do. So what happens is, people ask me, where do you get your ideas from? Okay, I will be the first person to tell you a variety of places. I get some from Pinterest. I very rarely, but I think I have on occasion, absolutely duplicated something from Pinterest. Like, I'll put a twist on it, make it my own, or make it with my own, in Pinterest, they use a lot of stuff they can get at, like, the craft store. I, use stuff that I can get at the Dollar Tree or whatever. Excuse me. But I do, they'll inspire me. Like, my St. Pat's banner, the one that they had was, a different paper. Then they had different sheet music. They had different lettering, and it said something differently. But the overall style and idea for a paper banner came from Pinterest for St. Patrick's Day. So stuff like that. Then I get ideas from the past. So let me think of some things that I've done that we used to do a long time ago. I feel like there isn't even that many that I do. But there are some, I guess really any of my wreath making. Other than the spring wreaths, because that's sort of a new style. But any wreath making, it's old school as far as I'm concerned. Not the mesh or the burlap wreaths, but then they've been around for a while too. But any of my floral wreaths are wreaths that I've been making since I was 14 or whatever. So that's probably like my oldest. I actually have a pile that my sister suggested. Don't you have any of those old crafts from when you did homemakers? And I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. So I might start going through them for some inspiration if I run dry. The other place is from the stores. So I was shopping at Hobby Lobby. I saw this great Easter decor. It was like a window with a wreath on it and a bunny. And I took a picture of it because I immediately said, oh, I can make that for less money. And they wanted $24 for it. Even with a coupon, the 40% off, it still becomes, oh, jeepers, $10, $14, $15. So I can definitely make it for less than $15. So, stuff like that. That's a lot of places where I get inspiration. I'll look at catalogs or websites and get inspiration from them. A lot of times, more often than not, like with my 2-tiered trays or my country crate sort of projects. It's out of necessity where I want those items and they are not available financially to me. Like, I, even if I have the $15, I don't, I have a problem with spending the $15 on something like that. So, I'll go ahead and make that for myself or for a gift out of necessity, really. And then I do get inspired by other DIYers. I do try not to copy what they make. But if I see that we were both inspired by something and somebody makes it first, I will go ahead and tell you to check out their channel too or something. I always try to give credit. Always try to give credit wherever credit is due. But I try not to, because what's the point? If you want to see me make it, go see go see someone else make it. I do know that I do a lot more step-by-step details in crafting than other DIYers, but there are plenty out there who have really good instructions. I often have suggested to me, people send me videos of, can you make this? Or I'd love to see your take on this. And sometimes I just don't feel like I can improve on it or I can do anything different. So I don't always have that vision. And then sometimes I'm inspired by you guys. You'll actually send me stuff to say, I have this event going on, or I have this item that I saw in the store. Could you try to create it? And that's very, very helpful. And this way, that becomes like more of an interactive channel, and I kind of really like that. And then a lot of times, and I feel like this is the final, I get inspiration from items themselves. So I think a perfect example would be, because it's sitting in front of me, is this Easter basket. There are a lot of like DIYs out there where they take the garden fence and they make like a basket for your front door. And I just thought I can very easily take this and make it a basket for the front door. I can change it to flowers. I can leave it. I could put eggs in it. I could change it to flowers. I can change it up from season to season if I wanted to. And I can make it very farmhousey, because that's country is a little bit more my style than the glitzy. I like the combination. So if you've seen my holiday garlands that go in my archway and on my kitchen china cabinet, I do like a combination. I do like burlap and with a little glitter, like not a lot of glitter, but just a little. So that's where I'm at. So sometimes I'll just put on the music, grab an item. I might sit here for a few minutes like this. That's why this basket is here. So I'm sitting here and I'm like going over the process in my head, because first of all, I only have one. So if I mess it up, I'll have to go back out and buy another one. So I really have to make sure I know what I want to do. The second thing is, because I film my original creations, like a lot of people will make it first and then they'll go ahead and I'll teach you how to do it. But because I film my original creations, you guys get to see my mistakes. Just, if I make a mistake, it's possible that you'll make a mistake and then you'll know how to recover from the mistake or such. But, sorry, I just got distracted by something. I'm sorry. Because I film my original creations, I really do have to plan it out the best that I think it will work before I start to go ahead and craft. So I will do that. Yeah. A lot of times it's just the item. So I see an item in the store and I think, what can I do with it? How can I make that mine? How can I make that something that you can do? Because let's see, I don't know, I want to say as difficult as some people think some of the things that I do are, I haven't even stepped into the realm of, like, in my opinion, of difficult DIYs. Like, I try to keep these all simple and under budget, and in a way that pretty much everybody could do. I try to make certain things with people with disabilities. Like, I have a lot of problems with my hand arthritis in the morning, especially. Like, I can't even make a fist. So I make things that I know that I can do, my hand strength, that I, know that you guys with difficulty with limited hand strength or limited mobility in your hands can try to do. So, I think we've talked about this before. People actually, maybe not in a while because people have asked me. I was an avid crocheter. I learned how to knit, but it wasn't my thing. Crocheting really was. I used to, my favoriteest thing, I know favoriteest isn't a word, but my favorite thing ever was needlepoint. I used to love doing counted cross stitch and embroidery. It's like, I learned how to do embroidery when I was in 3rd grade in GT, which was like, you got pulled out of your regular class for an hour or 2 or 3 times a week to participate with other kids that are have above average abilities, I guess. I don't even know what to say without sounding weird, but we got to learn all of these extra things. Basically, I was super smart and I was bored in school. How's that? I'm just kidding. So, when I was in 3rd grade, I got pulled out and we learned embroidery. We made a sampler, I learned the French knot, and I learned the satin stitch, and just the chain stitch. I learned that all when I was in 3rd grade, and I've been really doing it for a long time. But what saddens me is between that and the crochet, I really can't do them anymore. I could probably work for, I'd probably say, like, on a good day, probably 30 minutes at a time, but on a normal day, probably only 10 or 15 minutes. I'd have to constantly pick it up and put it down, pick it up and put it down, because I get, it's hard to hold the needle, and I probably have carpal tunnel syndrome. I never complained to my doctor about it because there's so many other things to do besides counted cross stitch and crochet. But so sometimes that limits my hands too. So anyhow, this is a long vlog to tell you about all this. Yeah. I also bought some things to organize the craft room while I was in Texas, and I'm looking forward to doing that as well. I talked to Jimmy about finally doing the closet in here so that we could get this room manageable. This room is starting to become unmanageable, which is why I have so graciously turned down offers for people to send me craft items. It's overwhelming in my space at this point. I have donated some. I have gifted some to, I have a friend who lives in like a senior center, and she's sort of like the floor representative. She almost like an RA would be in college. She, coordinates crafting events and stuff. So I knew she could use some of the things that I sent her. I told her I have plenty more coming. We just have to go ahead and finally organize everything, So that's it. I mean, Lisa came. I don't know if you saw that video, or if I even posted that video yet. Did I post that video? I might have. Might be on the other channel. I don't know. What's today? But when Lisa came, she helped me. We organized in here a little bit. She helped me get rid of stuff like, why was I hanging on to little scraps of fabric that I probably will never use again. So that was a good question. I don't know the answer to it, so she threw them out. And I don't mean like scraps of fabric, like I'm strips of fabric, like I was cut. I don't know what I was saving them for. I really don't. And I do know that there are so many, like the jar of ribbon pieces. I can't tell you, and you guys have seen it probably, how many times I've dipped into the jar of ribbon pieces to get, just because you only need this much for a bow or something. So it's not like unheard of. It's not like I'm out of the loop or I'm out of my mind keeping little things. But anyway, I just realized I'm talking with my glasses on that whole time. Good morning. It's time for coffee. Put on The Greatest Showman and get to work. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for chatting with me. If you have any questions, please, if you haven't yet, click subscribe. And when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And as always, take care, God bless, and see you next time. Bye. Let's get those creative juices flowing. Yeah.